Hello. Today is Saturday, December 7th, the end of the first week of Advent. Years ago, in fact, it was many years ago, there was a fad that was popular among many Christians, and that was that many of them wore a plastic wristband that had the letters WWJD, meaning, what would Jesus do? And I have to be honest with you, I never wore one. I just somehow, I didn't get into the fad. But that didn't mean that its message didn't strike a chord with me. In fact, a message that stayed with me again and again. Because you and I are confronted every day with questions about how we should live our life, how we should do this, whether we should buy that, whether we should get engaged with this, all kinds of questions. You know, the reality is that it's an important thing to ask ourselves, is this what Jesus would do? Because in the end, my sisters and brothers, that's how we are going to be held accountable. In the first reading from the book of the prophet Isaiah, Isaiah talks about the promise that God would send us a teacher to show us how we are to live in this world. Isaiah, more than anything else, was the prophet of promise. You know, he spoke to a people who watched a world in chaos. And yet in the midst of that, he talked about the fact that God was going to be doing something, and that in the midst of this chaos, something wonderful would come out of it. And slowly, it has emerged over the centuries. You know, the gift of the Lord Jesus, totally unexpected, that God would become part of the human race to show us how you and I are meant to live our lives, to be our teacher and our guide. And so it's important that as we live our life, we keep those words in mind, that every day we ask ourselves, would Jesus have done this? Is this the way the Lord Jesus would act? That's what I'm called to do, to live that hope, that promise every day of my life. The word Advent means coming. And the Lord comes into our life anew every day with the hope and the promise that leads us closer to the love of his Father. Every day, he asks us to live simply and to do what he would do as he taught us. Have a blessed and joyful Advent season.